Hey Ryan, Michael Galloway here at We Don't Need No Stinking Record Company.com, and we're talking about home recording and how you can relatively inexpensively produce a good recording that maybe you can go out and sell. Now, I've talked about utilizing quote-unquote talented amateurs, which I think are typically pros who have fallen out of it for a while, maybe going to come back in soon to the music business one way or the other. But for now, they have home studios and they're doing it for fun. I'll tell you, I don't know if there's a better situation than finding somebody who's really good, but doing it for fun, because they'll spend a whole lot more time at things and be a whole lot more careful and be a whole lot more emotionally invested. And it's just really fun to work with them. And my guy right now is Ron Logan, who's probably a step or two above a quote-unquote talented amateur. He and some of the other folks I work with, like Gary Tullier in Plano, they're going to charge a little bit of money and that kind of thing. So, I guess you can call them pro, and they're certainly very experienced and certainly turning out great stuff. But they don't have big facilities right now. We're working out of our houses and stuff like that, and so it's a lot easier to get stuff done without the pressure of paying $200 or $300 an hour. So what's the difference between the acoustic approach that I described in my last post and this one? We're going to talk about a little bit more produced record. Ron and I are working on the second CD now that has got more band arrangements, more drums, more electric basses, more electric guitars, more reverb, more production, the whole thing. Might even get some orchestra in there, you never know. And so how are we going to do that? Well, now your basic track is going to be a whole different thing. I still believe in using a click track as much as possible. Sometimes you can't. But the idea is to get in there and listen to a click track, but get the drums, get the basic instruments down, particularly the drums. The drums in a track or a band where you have drums, the drums, they represent really the soul of the song, the soul of the band. If you've got a bad drummer, you are going nowhere. And so how do you handle that? Well, in our case, and I'll show you this, I'll show you examples of this in our setup in a few posts from now. But we started off in one of the home studios, and Ron Logan and I could not do it down in his DeSoto Shabby Road studio. We moved to do our work at Gary Tullier's house in another part of Texas because he had the room and the microphones and the equipment and the interfaces to handle a lot more input at one time, and a great sounding room for actually recording drums. So we set our drums up there. We set me over in a corner and put me on a microphone with an electrified guitar. And our drummer, Chad Ireland, and I listened to a click track at the same time and listened to each other. And I sang a scratch vocal, that means a temporary vocal, and put down a scratch guitar, a temporary guitar, while Chad was listening to me so that we knew where we were in the song. And we would go through the song as well as we could from beginning to end. And Ron Logan sitting there listening to the arrangements and making corrections for us, and Gary Tullier on the buttons being the recordist and the engineer for the session. It's great help to have these other ears in the situation listening to you, tell you where you're messing up, where you're not tight, and those kinds of things. So we got through recording the main thing we were trying to capture, and maybe you want to do a bassist at the same time, then the bass and the drums can really work together. In this case, we didn't have that luxury, so we just worked on mostly trying to get the drums down and tight in the right arrangement and pushing the song along the way we wanted it to. And now Ron and I will take those tracks from Gary Tullier's home studio to Ron's home studio, and we will start adding stuff to it. We've got the drum tracks. Now I can listen to those. I can add a real guitar. I can add vocals. We can add background vocals. I can play bass, or Ron can play bass, and we can add all these other instruments in. Keyboards, different digital patches, and all kinds of things to build this song up from the bottom. But you start with, just like we did in the last post, we started with a basic instrument that's providing the rhythm. Well, now we do it with the drums, because they are the solid base for this entire song. Only every once in a while might you add drums after the fact, and we happen to do that on one of the tunes that we did record for this more produced CD. we had a good solid recording with a keyboard and a click track, and so we added drums to that after the fact. And anyway, point being that 99% of the time it's best to start with the main rhythm instruments first and then build up from there. So now coming are a few posts where I'm going to show you our recording setup where we actually recorded live drums and how difficult it is to record those live drums. I will warn you that those posts are going to be a bit jerky, what I call gorilla cam. That is, it looks like a gorilla was holding it. And but I do want to show you the setup of that home studio, and it's no different than some of the stuff you might see. James Taylor's recorded this way. A number of other artists have brought their Todd Rundgren, others have brought their equipment to their homes and recorded there, and it's not that different than that. We really have got a lot of very sophisticated stuff at our fingertips now. I am Ryan Michael Galloway, coming back at you soon, and we don't need no stinking recordcompany.com. Thanks.